Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes you through the Codemasters franchise of F1 games from 2010 all the way to the present day, driving the cars at the back of the grid. And it's the unfamiliar new surroundings of F1 2012. And if you watch the introduction to this season, and you can see the screen there, you'll see that we're driving for HRT in what was their final season in 2012. A team that I always really liked because I love an underdog. F1 2010 and the original HRT, pulling them up from the back to the front was always such a joy. But we come into this season off the back of what was, I don't know, I guess a fairly painful 2011 season. Just the 1 point score, very rarely out of Q1. And a couple of opportunities that went begging that we either didn't have the pace for or made a mistake or got caught in the pits. That happened quite a lot because we were normally the cork in the bottle driving the Team Lotus T128. But that's all behind us. 2010 remains our high point, 80 points in that VR01 Virgin Racing car. But we're in the F112 now, the HRT, the last of its kind. Not quite as bad as the F111. Many regard that as the worst car of the modern era, but trying our best not to repeat teams every season meant that, we could have started with HRT in 2010, or we could have gone to them last year, but it's one of those things. Just trying to balance it out, get everybody a go, because we're going back to Marussia next year and Caterham the year after when they fold that season. So HRT only get one season, and this is it. We have taken the place of Narain Kartikeyan in the second of the two cars. We are partnered by the experienced and fairly well-respected Pedro de la Rosa. Never really set the world alight, but still, I think to this day, holds the lap record at Bahrain with the 2004 McLaren, I think it was. He did have a decent amount of pace and was a very, very good test and reserve driver for a lot of teams, really. Unfortunate in the sort of tail end of the years he did actually get to compete in seasons with Sauber in 2010 and HRT in 2012 that wasn't necessarily in the best machinery. But it's round one of 2012. Australia, Albert Park, a circuit we all know and love. And as you can see, 20 rounds this season. It's the first 20-round season, and it won't be the last. We're probably not going to dip under 20 rounds again, even 2020, when things happened and the season was cut down in the real world. We can only go by what the game does, so we might just stick with the proposed original calendar, but still got a few years to go before we get to that. And, well, I said in our introduction, what's the aim? What is the aim? Surely it's just to beat now Marussia Grand Prix, or Marussia Racing, and Caterham. Surely it's just those guys. Well, yeah, essentially, this is the last season we can do it before we have to start picking an established team to fight against as well, which could prove more problematic as the years go on. As always, 50% distance, legendary AI, we're going to have pit stops, damages on, flags are on. They're a bit more strict this season than they were in 2011, so penalties could easily come into races. We saw in our introduction race, our pre-season event, if you want to call it that, at Barcelona, that the AI have their moments in this game. A few unsafe rejoins and a few silly incidents from the AI in a mixed conditions race. A few incidents from me, which meant that I hadn't managed to finish ahead of one Virgin or one Marussia car and one Caterham. But 20 rounds is a long, long time. So, Australia, Albert Park, let's get into practice. Let's see what it's like in 2012. And what we do, we'll talk about the real world, 2012 Australian Grand Prix. The opening round of the 2012 season was at Albert Park in Australia, and there was plenty to talk about even before the cars hit the track. Mercedes were under investigation for the use of radical rear wing concepts for their car. It was Charlie Whiting of the FIA who investigated the wing and found it to be perfectly legal. Neither HRT or Marussia had managed to run their cars in any more than shakedowns prior to arriving in Australia, with HRT experiencing problems with Pedro de la Rosa's chassis. Work on his car was not completed in time for Thursday's scrutineering, which led HRT to request an extension. The FIA agreed, and work was completed in time for the revised deadline, and the car passed, though it wouldn't be ready for first practice. The first session saw limited early run, as the track was between intermediate and dry conditions, with Kamui Kobayashi and the two Mercedes cars setting that early pace. HRT saw Kartikeyan stop on track, meaning they completed no timed laps in first practice to really compound their pre-season misery. A practice session which saw Button, Hamilton and Schumacher top the timesheets at the end. There was a downpour between first and second practice, meaning the track was back to green running. It wouldn't be until the last 15 minutes that drivers would begin to set times on these soft tyres, after a few drivers found themselves going off circuit. Schumacher would top the times, ahead of Kobayashi in the Sauber. The third session was held in clear conditions, giving everybody the chance to set some representative times. Red Bull hadn't completed any quali sims, and their plans were scuppered by Vettel spinning off at turn 5, while Webber's flying lap was disrupted by Schumacher spinning off up ahead of it. It'd be Hamilton who topped the times, ahead of a returning Lotus of Romain Grosjean. Qualifying started with drivers being cited for blocking, particularly Kartikeyan, who impeded drivers on 3 separate occasions. All drivers, though cited, weren't actually penalised by the stewards. The heavy traffic led to quite the mixed-up grid, Q1 ending with Kobayashi, Verne and Perez in top 3. Felipe Massa was close to dropping out until setting a lap time at the death to get through. It was Kimi Raikkonen, of all people, who dropped out in Q1 alongside the Caterhams and Marussias after running wide at turn 12. The HRT cars were also eliminated, but for the second season in a row they were outside the 107% time and would not be permitted to start the race. Q2 was interrupted by a spinning Fernando Alonso, who clipped the grass on the entry into turn 1 and span into the gravel, unable to get out of the gravel trap. This caused a red flag and would lead to Alonso being eliminated, with Massa only able to manage 16th, marking Ferrari's first failure to get a car into Q3 since the 2009 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. They'd be joined by Verne, Kobayashi, Perez, Senna and Di Resta.
Quickest of the session so far.
The final part of qualifying started with Mercedes setting the pace, Schumacher holding provisional pole until he is usurped by Hamilton, who would take pole position with the first lap under 1:25 of the weekend. He'd be joined by Button on the front row, while Romain Grosjean would stick his Lotus in third, ahead of Schumacher. Red Bull would only take 5th and 6th, Webber ahead of Vettel, while Rosberg, Maldonado, Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo would complete the top 10. Button would get the better launch off the line, leading Hamilton into turn 1, while the rest of the field had their share of the chaos. Grosjean was overwhelmed into turn 1 and fell from 3rd to 6th, while Webber also fell back, getting sandwiched between Verne and Hülkenberg, and colliding with both. The contact heavy enough to end Nico Hülkenberg's race. Further back off the start, Perez gained some spots, but was unable to avoid the rear of Kobayashi's Sauber, damaging his teammate's rear wing. Bruno Senna found himself turned sideways and up on 2 wheels on Ricciardo's front end, seeing both drivers require repairs in the lap. Near the end of that first lap as well, Grosjean and Maldonado came together, snapping the Lotus's steering arm, ending Grosjean's return early. McLaren were leading the way with the 2 Mercedes in behind them, though Vettel got past Rosberg into 4th. That had become 3rd a few laps later as Schumacher ran wide at turn 1 while nursing a gearbox problem. The first driver to box on lap 14 was Massa, who was complaining of rear degradation, which led to a flurry of activity in the pits, leading to the belief that this would be a 3-stop race. That was with the exception of Sergio Perez, the Mexican starting on the hard tyres and looking to run a 1-stop as he had 12 months previous. The Sauber's long strategy impacted Hamilton, who'd come out behind Perez, leaving him vulnerable to Vettel behind. A little later on, Petrov's Caterham would develop a steering problem, and he'd park the stricken car on the start-finish line, leading to a safety car deployment. This would trigger the second round of stops, Vettel undercutting Hamilton slightly second behind Jenson Button. The new rules around lapped cars being able to unlap themselves meant that Button had a Red Bull right on his rear at the restart. The Brit, however, would get away well, pulling out a gap on Vettel while Hamilton found himself under pressure from Webber behind. Alonso would also complain about degradation while being pressured by the racy Pastor Maldonado, while further back the other Ferrari of Felipe Massa would make contact with the other Williams of Bruno Senna, both eventually sustaining punches and retiring, though Senna would limp to over 90% distance to be classified. Maldonado, still pushing hard behind Alonso, would crash on the final lap after getting on the throttle too early on the AstroTurf at the exit of turn 7. Perez and Rosberg would also come to blows on the final lap, Rosberg making contact with the Sauber and getting a puncture. The contact allowed Kimi Räikkönen to pass them both and come home in 7th after his lowly qualifying, while Rosberg limped to the line with 7 points.
Sector 3 times are good, but you're losing time in Sector 2.
It would be Jenson Button who took victory in Australia, his 3rd Australian Grand Prix win in 4 years, with Vettel and Hamilton complete the podium. Webber would take 4th, while Alonso would claim 5th after Maldonado's crash. Kobayashi, Raikkonen, Perez, Ricciardo and Di Resta would complete the points. How's our debut with HRT going to go? Well, we'll at least beat the real team, as we'll get to start regardless of what we do in qualifying.
Are looking really good.
So, at least that's a bonus. Much like last season though, we're going to be very much on the back foot in a dry qualifying session, so getting out of Q1 is going to be a stretch all year long, especially in round 1 when the car's at its weakest. We got a bit of a run of having a traditional starting spot in 2011, and I'd say that's probably the best place to aim to start this season. So we're aiming for 19th. Let's see if we can go out there, beat the other new teams on debut, and make sure we can keep out qualifying them as we did in 2011.
You're losing a lot of time in Sectors 1 and 3. Sector 2 is good.
Here we are then, in the garage for our first qualifying session in the HRT. Practice, well, we picked up from where we left off in 2011, 19th, ahead of the other guys at the back, but way off the back of the likes of the Toro Rossos. So this looks like 2012 could be very much like 2011, but we did also find that we had to give our practice laps a few shots, because cars moving slowly on reconnaissance laps or out laps may have just stopped in the middle of the track and caused me to run into the back of them. The AI, very dim-witted in 2012 so far, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how that all shakes out. But let's get out there on the options, get some laps in, see if we can probably better what is expected of us in Q1.
Sector 1, okay. Sector 2, losing a little. Sector 3, your times are well down.
Engineer Andy giving us all positive reinforcement as we start our fastest lap of the session. You could see going through turns 1 and 2, we were stuck behind the Toro Rosso of Daniel Ricciardo. But at this point into the next couple of corners, we're just trying to use them for a little bit of a draft, having to really feather the throttle into this section. We run wide as well, which doesn't help our cause, and then all of a sudden we are confronted by 2 cars. We duck between the middle of them. We're still 3 and a bit tenths up on our best time, though, a second off the cars ahead. You can see as well we're between other back marker cars as we clip the grass, noticing who we're playing against. Into the chicane, it's one of the few times in qualifying we managed to get that right and not run too deep, so it gives us a nice slingshot out onto this long back straight heading towards this fast chicane in the middle. 0.6 of a second up on our best time, but way off the cars in front still, and having to feather the throttle once again as we struggle to keep the car on full throttle. Into the final few corners, a little wide on entry there as we head through the final couple. Ride the curve nicely, don't go too far wide so we avoid the gravel on the outside, get it nicely through the penultimate corner, but again, a little wide on entry. And again, just struggling to get the power down, not confident that the car's going to turn and keep going. We head up to the line. Is it going to be enough?
You seem to be losing a lot of time in sector 3.
And our first qualifying session comes to an immediate end. P20. And in the end, not much away from Heikki Kovalainen, but I think that's the first time we've been out-qualified in any race, out-qualified in any race, if you discount where we had to start in the not quite season mode Italian Grand Prix in 2011, but the first time we've been out-qualified by a fellow new team since 2010, and it's Heikki Kovalainen in our old team in the Caterham that does it. We start, though, ahead of Pedro Della Rosa, Vitaly Petrov, Timo Glock, and the other rookie, I guess you could call us that, I suppose, in the context of 2012, Charles Pic in the other Marussia, who's down at the back. Bruno Senna, the other car that gets knocked out by 0.6 of a second. Sergio Perez getting through by the skin of his teeth for a long time in that qualifying session. Our top guy there, Kamui Kobayashi, was the guy in the drop zone. Maldonado was down there as well. End of qualifying things. You see the top four there, while everybody else kind of in the middle pack. P20, though, it's what the team expected, I guess. That's something. And it's as much as we could give. We didn't quite get any clean laps on the board, really. Seemed to struggle just getting certain corners right. Chicane in the middle of a lap that's obviously no longer there. Always proves tricky every season, and this is no exception. But I don't know if we had a huge amount, much more pace, if I'm honest. We might have been able to pip Kovalainen, but I don't think much further up the grid was that realistic. But opportunity in the race, I guess. If we can jump Kovalainen and the like, we might be able to move up the order and try and defend our way into a good position. But let's cross over to the race, and we'll see what that brings us. Here we are then in the garage for the 2012 Australian Grand Prix, the opening round of the season. P20 qualifying, beaten by a fellow backmarker car for the first time since 2010, in quali trim anyway. And yeah, pushed as hard as we could. Didn't really get any clean laps in quali. Could have been a little bit better, perhaps. But promise, we weren't last, and we weren't a million miles off beating Kovalainen either. But let's take a look at the grid, and we'll talk about what we're hoping for from our opening race of the year. It was a pole position for Mark Webber, trying to regain his championship after being beaten out by Vettel in our 2011 on countback. 2010 champion again in our timeline, starting the season well at home. Alonso got second ahead of Hamilton. Romain Grosjean impressing fourth with the Lotus. Then it's Button, Vettel down in sixth, the defending champion. Then it's Rosberg, Perez, Massa, Di Resta. Then Kobayashi in 11th, Maldonado, Verne, Hulkenberg, Schumacher down in 15th. Not a good day for the German. Ricciardo on debut in Australia, or his Australian debut, should I say. Didn't obviously compete in our 2011, even if he did in the real world, so we'll call this his debut 2012. 16th, Raikkonen on his return to the sport, 17th in the Lotus. Really bad day in qualifying for him. Bruno Senna got knocked out in Q1 with Kovalainen. Ourselves were ahead of Della Rosa, Petrov, Glock, and Charles Pic in the Marussia. And, you know, this is a circuit I think we all know very well. This car severely lacks pace. It's another car without KERS. I don't think we're going to get KERS until 2013 for Marussia. Maybe. I don't even know if maybe they were still not doing KERS in Marussia at that point, and if that's the case, it won't be till the Caterham in 2014 that we get KERS. So we're lacking straight line boost. We're lacking straight line speed anyway. The car is just not very good. Let's be honest. But we had a 100% record of out-qualifying and out-racing our fellow new teams last season. And I'd like to continue that trend at least. So P19 is what the team want. P19 is going to be our aim. hopefully we can get a decent start as everybody concertinas through the first lap, pick up some places, and maybe see if we can just make our way to the end of this Grand Prix incident-free and in a decent position. But it's time to take this car out for its first proper competitive race, the 2012 Australian Grand Prix. There'll be your pole man. There we are, P20. Alongside us, Pedro De La Rosa.
This is your first race, so concentrate on keeping it clean and a good result should follow. Good luck.
Engineer Andy with the confidence boost as the 5th red light comes on. And away we go in Australia. Fairly cautious start, and we've already been passed by De La Rosa and Vitaly Petrov in the Caterham, but everybody concertinas. We find a little gap and we squeeze through it. And we're alongside Kimi Raikkonen and Daniel Ricciardo. We force the Australian out a little bit. To move into P17 again, everybody concertinas. Raikkonen into the back of Schumacher, who clips Hulkenberg there. We then clip Hulkenberg. But it does mean that we're past Schumacher and we've essentially pushed the Hulk wide as typical first lap things. Everybody really struggling. And we're at the inside of the rest, and we'll try it on Verne as well with a little bit of contact. And then the Toro Rosso surely is going to out-drag us down here, but we've kept mildly alongside. They're all on the prime tyres as well by the looks of it. We have a slight tyre advantage, but we move up to P12. We'll immediately be under attack. I could see that Force India of Nico Hulkenberg just sort of sat closing and closing. Already losing the top 11. Kobayashi at the back of it, just saw him disappearing out sharp. This, I think, is now where the defence has to begin. Not begun very well as we come across the line. P12 just.
I think it'll stay dry for the whole race.
Hulkenberg also on the options, will sweep round the outside. He didn't get far enough ahead. P12. We had the second half of the pack. Looking all over the back now. Gonna get around the outside there, buddy. Wide on exit, Hulk's going to take another look, but we're once again just about going to hold the Force India off. Looks like the other back marker cars, the Caterhams, the other HRT, and the Russia's starting to fall off the back now. Oh, we run wide. That corner's been a problem all the way through the weekend as Hulkenberg goes by. But only Hulk at the moment, down a little further back. Verne's going to be all over us now in the start-finish straight. We try to move to the middle to maybe block him off. De Resta's going to follow him through, but then get caught up behind the Toro Rosso. Oh, somebody just came storming in and is straight off. Said no overtaken, hasn't pulled me up on it. Kobayashi is all of a sudden right in front of us. He'd cleared off, but we're past Kamui now and into 12th again.
We're 7 places up on our predicted finish. Come on, keep going.
No idea who went storming into turn 1, whoever it was. They really lost out, and for some reason Kobayashi also fell right back into our clutches. And if you look at the mini-map, the top 11 or the top 10 is splitting, and then Hulk's on his own, and there's a couple of little pockets of cars now. So busy watching the arrows just appear behind me, and then seeing a car off in the gravel, I wasn't necessarily paying attention to who was around me. Surely Kobayashi with DRS is just going to breeze on by.
Remember to use DRS to gain a speed advantage if you need to get past someone.
Much like Hulkenberg earlier, we'll just hold it on the outside. Get a bit later on the brakes and we're through. Actually, they'll immediately attack it into the next corner again, probably DRS. Again, DRS eases past.
The car behind is trying to save fuel.
We'll just try and hold it around the outside through two. We'll make it work.
You've moved up to 12th place.
Slightly to cover DeRasta there. He'll again go by.
Okay,
does he leave me enough room on the outside? Does. I squeezed him a little. As DeRasta will go by, Kobayashi will have a look. He'll go to the outside, which is going to force me to have to dive at the inside of DeRasta. Kobayashi's gone straight on, which I feel is probably what happened to him when he just dropped back. DeRasta goes defensive. Tough place to go in the outside. I'll think about it though. I'm staying with the Scot. I don't think that'll be for long. Is that Kobayashi again? I think it was. I think Kobayashi's just gone straight on. Yellow flag, and then we've got Ricciardo behind us. Kobayashi once again just went straight on as Ricciardo. Easy overtake. Vern's going to go to one side. We maybe moved a little late there. We're trying to do to Ricciardo what we didn't manage to do to Hulkenberg, and then we're off the road. And round.
Okay, back to the pits. We've lost the front wing.
There goes Niki Kovalainen. We've got to get round now.
The tyres have picked up some marbles. Keep to the racing line and wear them off.
No front wing. Vern had gone off the road there as well. We just tried getting on the power a touch too early.
Your left tyres are looking poor. You should pit for repairs. Pit.
Trying to attack Daniel Ricciardo. Gonna slip to last, and by quite some distance.
Pit in.
Weird divot in the middle of that corner that we just tried to use to get past. Looks like Bruno Senna is out of the race. Oh, De La Rosa needs a change now as well. It's all gone wrong for HRT.
Coming up behind one of the Saubers.
Kobayashi also running slowly, so I'm going to jump him.
Watch it, we're on the same team.
De La Rosa's going to have to go all the way round. Kobayashi's been a bit of a menace today. We're going to need a front wing repair. I think Kobayashi as well.
Exit
He
now.
goes on and we're right ahead of Kamui Kobayashi.
Remember to stay inside the white line
Yeah,
or
lap
we'll get a
down, I think.
penalty.
There we go.
You have no more scheduled
That was
pit
Bruno
stops,
Senna.
so look after your tyres.
He's way off the back of the field. I don't know what's happened to him.
Car behind you passed, he's not racing you for position.
I believe we're already a lap down yet. There's Lewis Hamilton, who's second.
We had a gap of about 3 seconds between you and the next car.
Stay to the outside to let them through. And deep into the
Be
corners.
aware, which
Again,
the car behind is trying to save fuel.
just need them both to go by here. And Jenson Button, who's a bit further back. Hamilton comes across. There's a Alonso, finally they go through. I'm now right in Jenson Button's way. Trying to let the McLaren through. There he goes. So masses of time. Doesn't look like Della Rosa was damaged because he's still circulating. So Kobayashi might have hit the back of him as the leaders go on in.
We need you to make way for the car.
Nico Rosberg now. Back off to let him go. Stay to the outside. We've got one of the Lotuses. That'd be Grosjean. Trying to nudge his way by. Come on, Roman. Fairly poor race then, this one. Actually has a look and we just block him out a touch.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Doesn't matter. Block now the man in front of us, but I think that would be. He's in the pits. I don't think we're going to get back past him.
There are quite a few cars in the pits right now. Watch out for cars exiting the pits.
Unlap ourselves from Mark Webber. Probably not for long though. Especially not like that. We nearly lose the rear.
Engine temperatures are good. Let's try to keep it that way. You've lost your front wing. If you can nurse the car back to the pit,
lose another front wing.
Behind you passed. He's not racing you for position.
We come then for our second stop of the day. More damage. And barring retirements, we're going to finish 24th and last. Still wouldn't be our worst result, I suppose. We've had 2 disqualifications and a DNF back in 2010. It's been a pretty poor Australian Grand Prix so far.
Go now.
Nearly a lap down on our fellow back markers. We're going to be outraced in round 1. Through my own mistakes more than anything else.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
It's Paul di Resta. And obviously we were fighting a little earlier as Charles Pic, now the man in front of us, so he's been passed by Kobayashi. It's probably come into the pits. We'll move right out of Paul di Resta's way. Let's try and let him go. He just doesn't seem to want to. He just drives into us. Thanks, Paul. That's the thing about this series. It's not always going to be the most glamorous. Not always going to be scrapping for anything and everything. We saw a lot of time last season. We'd start well and normally get caught out in the pits. Yeah, we'd make a couple of mistakes here and there, but we'd normally get caught out in pit stops, lose ground, and then be much faster than the guys behind us, but too slow to play with the guys up front. This time around, this race has been one of terrible, terrible mistakes. We're a lap down. We're probably going to end up 2, I reckon, by the end of it. So this is going to be a pretty chastening opening round to our journey with HRT this season. I guess that means the only way surely can be up. There's Daniel Ricciardo, the man we were fighting when we spanned the first time. Being chased by Kimi Räikkönen in the Lotus. Also had a pretty torrid weekend, to be honest. Wide as Kimi got pushed.
Blue flag conditions, let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Schumacher has also had a pretty torrid
Pick
weekend.
quite a lead on you. He's 30 seconds ahead.
Really have to back off to get lapped.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
And deep to let Jean-Eric burn through. That means I think the next cars that would be coming up to lap me would be the other back marker cars. That would be your return to 2010 moments, getting lapped by the other back marker teams. Happened a couple of times in Barcelona and Korea. Disqualified, and yeah, there were a couple of good races there, but I don't know if they'll catch us this time. I hope not anyway. Actual pace, I think I've got them by maybe about half a second. If we didn't manage to get a clean lap in qualifying, I think it probably would have. If I'd managed to, should have been able to jump at least Kovalainen. They're all getting laps in quite a train at the moment. I don't think it's going to be enough for me to catch up, but we'll just keep pushing. There's a yellow flag on the mini-map there. And Glock is now the car in front of us. It wouldn't surprise me if there's been some issues. Some cars coming together as leaders lap those ahead. Faintest of hopes that somebody gets enough damage to have to limp brain the lap and then need to pit.
Fantastic lap times. You're closing in on the car ahead.
There's a bit of debris at turn 1. Does appear to be somebody moving slowly on the mini-map. That's going to be anybody of any relevance to us, or one of the guys nearer the front of the field. We'll find out shortly. Still 26 seconds up the road. So
The gap to the car ahead is 26 seconds.
this is moving slowly. Somebody a lap ahead of us. It's Michael Schumacher in the Mercedes, and he's basically just stopped on the apex with no front wing.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Mark Webber about to put 2 laps on us. We've only been 2 laps down once. There's another yellow flag out around the back of the circuit. 2 laps down once, I think. Possibly Silverstone 2010. This is a pretty terrible start to the season. All mistakes I've made. It's not like it's been just the lack of pace in this car, because it is slow, but we demonstrated we could mix it with some of the lower midfield runners. Well, we're actually about to get lapped by Kamui Kobayashi, the man we were fighting after we came out from our first pit stop for repairs. How far we've fallen off.
Good job, back up to speed now. Blue flag no longer applies.
Getting back off and let Hamilton through. I think this might be the first time we've finished outside of the top 20 since 2010 as well. It's been a race where a lot of things have happened for the first time since season 1, and none of them good. Don't count the disqualifications and the DNF in Hungary in season 1. This probably, I think, will definitely be our worst result, because even that Silverstone race where we finished 2 laps down, we beat Lucas Di Grassi to finish 23rd. This will be the lowest point of Blue Flag Bandits. Can't go any lower than 24th in terms of finishing position. I could be worse off. I could be 6 or 7 laps down instead. HRT didn't qualify for this race in 2011 or 2012, so starting it is still better than the real team, I guess.
Next car 20 plus, next car 20 seconds ahead. Blue flag conditions, let the car immediately behind through, you're not racing him.
We're coming to start our final lap of the race. Mark Webber halfway round his last lap. Just move to the inside to let Button through. First 8 or so laps were pretty good. Got a great launch. We're running up in 12th. Lost a place and started losing the top 11, or started losing the top 11, then lost a place. And we came through turn 1 to find a slow-moving Kamui Kobayashi. Nico Hulkenberg got past us, and then it was a case of just sort of fighting with the pack for a few laps. We were overtaken by Daniel Ricciardo. Jean-Eric Vergne tried to follow him through, and tried, I wouldn't say it was too audacious a manoeuvre up the inside at turn 1, but we tapped Ricciardo, got on the grass, lit up the rears, span the car, put it in the wall.
There's a 20-second gap between you and the next car.
Limped our way back to the pits and found that Kobayashi was missing a front wing and caught De La Rosa up as well. Mark Webber takes the opening victory of the season. Came in, pit for our second, made our pit stop a few laps later, lit it up again, lost the front wing again, limped back, and we've been on our own at the back ever since, getting laps. We finished 2 laps down and 24th and last in Australia. Not a good weekend. You get an achievement for just finishing the first race of the season. That's nice, but that's the only good thing that comes of it. We're the only car to finish 2 laps down, or one of only 3, should I say. Charles Pic and Timo Glock also finishing 2 laps down. Pedro De La Rosa takes P20, but Heikki Kovalainen takes 19th, which means that Caterham, as you'd expect, lead the way in the battle between us 3 teams. At the top end of things, Mark Webber took a commanding victory ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Jenson Button rounds out the podium. And it's Fernando Alonso, Romain Grosjean on his return, re-debut, I don't know, finishes 5th. Then it's Vettel, Felipe Massa's in 7th. Then it's Rosberg, Hulkenberg, and Pastor Maldonado picks up a point for Williams. Sergio Perez finishes just outside the top 10 ahead of Paul di Resta, Jean-Eric Vergne. Kimi Raikkonen has a terrible return to Formula 1, nearly a lap down in 14th. Daniel Ricciardo ends 15th, which isn't a bad result for him. Kobayashi down in 16th after his many issues today. Same with Bruno Senna, who also had a fair few excursions, in 17th. Michael Schumacher a lap down in 18th. And then, as I said before, Kovalainen, De La Rosa, Petrov, Pic, Glock. And there we are at the back. That means in the drivers' standings, Mark Webber leads the way with Hamilton, Button, Alonso, Grosjean, Vettel, Massa, Rosberg, Hulkenberg and Maldonado all with points. The constructors are the drivers obviously finishing as is. Narain Kartikeyan gets to be on the scoreboard, so there are 3 HRTs. This game will, I think, put Kartikeyan in the car if I end up becoming driver number 1 at HRT, and I will then take that Rosa spot. So we might see Kartikeyan in the HRT later on in the season, unless, of course, our performances continue in this vein. In the constructors, Red Bull and McLaren level on points, 33 apiece at the top. Ferrari 15 behind, with Lotus 4th and Mercedes, Force India and Williams. We are not last, thanks to the fact that Pedro de la Rosa finished ahead of 2 Marussias, but we are behind Caterham. But that means we're only level on points. Oh, we're only level on points? We are level on points with Caterham, Marussia, Toro Rosso and Sauber. And only 1 behind Williams, 2 behind Force India and 4 behind Mercedes. Let's not forget, we beat Williams in 2011. We beat a fair few teams in 2010. Williams were one of them. In 2011, we beat Williams along with HRT and Virgin Racing. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can remain with an improved Williams, but maybe fight with Toro Rosso and Sauber as well. But that was Australia. What a terrible start to the season. There's no 2 ways about it, really. But that's what this series is going to bring. I don't think 2010 is going to be surpassed anytime soon, unless we can get back on track immediately at Sepang. That's going to be the next round. Thank you so much for joining me with this one. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I'll see you for the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.